Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. To God be the praise. I'm counting every day. There's 7, 8, 9, 10 is on the way. To God be the praise. I'm counting every day. I be counting blessed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I be counting blessed. God be the praise. I'm counting every day. I be counting blessed. There's 7, 8, 9, 10 is on the way. I be counting blessed. God be the praise. I'm counting every day. I be counting blessed. All I see is blessings, 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 blessings. I was out here stepping fruitin', baby, not for nothing. No, I had to learn a lesson. Blessings, 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 blessings. Blessed to the sea, blessed to the sea. Blessed when I'm coming, blessed when I'm going. Blessed to the city, blessed to the blessed when I'm coming. Oh. Don't say a merry boat, Pete. I ain't counting sheep. I be counting.
Good afternoon and welcome to Inspire with Shika My'Chelle. I am your host, Shika My'Chelle, founder and CEO of 501c3 nonprofit organization, Beautifully Unique Incorporated, and owner and CEO of inspirational brand Inspire with Shika My'Chelle. As you can see, we don't have our brother Jared here with us.
The
highlighter is not in the building, but we did open up with 1, 2 Trace by Mr. Jared All-Star Haynes from his Water and Wine album. So check that out. We opened the show with our favorite highlighter. He's not in the building today, unfortunately, but we're here.
We're here.
I'm sitting here with Big Bro, Melvin J. Robinson Jr. And we've already started to cut up. So the broken pencil and the broken crayon. You know, the highlight is not here to illuminate the room.
Yeah.
But the lights are bright, so you know we still feel his presence.
Yes.
Right.
Residue.
The residue. Look at God. 2 weeks ago. We were talking about broken crayons still coloring, and we are live, and these are annoying, so forgive me in advance. I'm just gonna throw those there because it's annoying me. But we were talking about broken crayons still being able to color, and the way we broke things down, it was kind of, we didn't even get to touch on the brokenness. We were still, discussing the other things surrounding it. But before we left off, Jared, who's not here, had made a comment about what church are you a part of? And I think you touched on that a little bit. And you broke that down. And one thing he was talking about was the division of churches, and how it's become more of a competition than actually being about God. And I wanted us to be able to touch on that a little bit before God moves, because if you don't know anything about this show, you'll see if you see a paper here, this is really just so I can remember all of my sponsor information. We really don't write things down. We kind of just allow God to move here, and that's the blessing in the show. And forgive me because the pollen is high and everybody is sniffling.
It's real high.
The pollen is high and it's a little warm in here, and we just gonna let God move. Yes. But I wanted you to be able to touch on that a little bit about the division in the churches and how it's become more about a competition as opposed to us actually, fellowshipping with each other and that type of thing. So I'll leave that,
because back in the day, I've been in church all of my life. I pretty much am an altar baby, born on the altar of the Lord. Daddy had us in church, my whole family, we traveled together. My father actually, God rest his soul, my father actually started choirs and helped build music ministries in a lot of the churches, especially on East End. And as a kid, I loved church. It wasn't hard for me to get up to go to church. When it was time to go to church, I was up, got my shower, brushed my teeth, I'm ready for church, because I love church. But over the years, I have seen, there's a lot that I can go, there's a lot of ways that I can go with this, but one of the main issues that I have with the church from back in the day up until now is the desensitization of the power of the Spirit. No one is no longer sensitive to the moving of the power of God, of the Holy Ghost. and we see a lot of that because now it's about the huckabuck. Now it's about going in. Now no one is being taught. We have to get back to biblical teaching. We have to get back to biblical principles. It's okay to huckabuck. It's okay to shout. Those things have its time. Those things have its place. But really what we need now more than ever is to be taught the word of God, because we have to know not only what was and what is, but what is to come.
Yeah.
How are we going to be ready if we don't know what's coming?
Absolutely.
Because there's a greater power that's coming that a lot of us aren't aware of. The Antichrist is coming as well as Jesus is coming. The Bible says it. I believe it's in Daniel. Daniel alludes to it. I believe Revelation alludes to it. The Bible says, Jesus said, don't worry about the sixth trump. He says, worry about the seventh, which is the farthest trump out. He said, because as the sixth trump, 6 is the representation of the number of man, which is the representation of the number of the Antichrist. Jesus said the Antichrist is coming before I come. He said, don't worry about the sixth trump, worry about the seventh, because that's when I'm coming. He said, but we're not ready. See, we're not going to know, because the Bible says that people are going to follow a whoring, following after the Antichrist, thinking that's Jesus. They're going to see him coming. They say, well, if he's coming, who's this? Oh, too late. Too late. You're following the wrong Christ.
Wrong one.
But when we deal about, we're talking about the brokenness, we're talking about division. My thing is, because, the question should be, is what causes brokenness? What causes brokenness? Because a lot of the brokenness is either due to other people, due to something that you did, that you self-inflicted yourself. Yeah. But the one I want to talk about is what happens when God breaks you. God told Jonah. He said, listen, I'm going to give you my word. I want you to go preach to Nineveh. He said, there's a boat leaving for Joppa. He said, I want you to get on that boat, preach the word of God to the Ninevites. Preach the word of God to the people of Nineveh. He told them, he said, they're going to get saved. Jonah gets on the boat going the total opposite way of where God told him to go. He gets on the boat going to Tarshish, right? So he deliberately disobeyed God. And the reason why, which a lot of us don't allude to, is that he didn't want them saved. As a matter of fact, he wanted God to kill him. God kill him. How many of us do that with God? Get him, kill him, kill all of them. I don't like them, kill them. God says, no, that's not my will. My will is that all be saved, even though some may not be or ever be saved. But God desires that all be saved. That's his desire. People do have the ability to turn if they submit their will to God. So when you don't submit to God, it causes a certain level of brokenness where God's got to break you in order for you to submit. He don't make you do it, but he'll allow things to come into your life to get you to submit. So in the case of Jonah goes the opposite way. So he finds himself now in a boat going to Tarshish, a total opposite way of where God told him to go. So that's strike one. A deliberate, because there's a difference between deliberate disobedience and procrastination. Yes. And a lot of us are in one of those categories. There's no in between. You either deliberately disobeying or you're procrastinating. But which one would God honor the most? Because God says in his word, he says, I will honor the one that says no and then decides to go than the one that says yes and never do anything. Okay. God does not like you gonna say yes and then you don't make a move to do nothing. You understand what I'm saying?
I'm hoping y'all have your pencils and your pens ready.
but this is powerful, because when I read the story, because we talk about certain things and stories, but we don't look at the we don't peek under the cover. We just take it for as
what
surface.
It is, yeah.
But he told him, he said, I want you to go and I want you to preach to them. He said, because they're gonna hear you, because I'm going to give you my word. They're gonna listen and they're gonna turn and be saved. He didn't want them saved. One, because he didn't like it. He was prejudiced. And that's what causes division in the, we're gonna tie it all the same. That's what causes division in the church, because we don't like certain people. And it causes a separation. Everybody that don't look like us, everybody that don't shout like us, everybody that don't dance like us, everybody that don't do what we do, we put them as castaways, or they're not of us.
They are the misfits.
They are
the misfits.
The misfits. So Jonah finds himself, he goes to the bottom of the boat, going to Tarshish. All of a sudden a storm comes. What do you do when you find yourself in the midst of a storm, and you praying and you doing things and you going in and you praying, you doing everything that you know how to do to get an answer from God, just to peek up? Because see, the thing about us is we attribute just about everything that happens to the devil. But we peek up under the cover and realize God is the one pushing the buttons and pulling the strings. What do we do when we find ourselves in the midst of a storm and we realize that God is in the backdrop of it?
You might want to submit.
You hear what I'm saying? You might want to
submit.
Right there. You might want to submit. But what happened was they started throwing stuff overboard, because the boat's going down. The wind is the billows are tossing high. The winds are blowing, crashing against the boat. The boat about to go down, so they start throwing stuff off. Number one, to either lighten the load to keep the boat afloat, or number two, there's something on this boat that ain't supposed to be here. So they find him at the bottom of the boat. They wake him up, say, "Yo, man, you need to get up. This boat about to go down. Call on your God." He gets up. He says, "Oh, man." He says, "Listen, I'm the reason why this storm is here." They say, "Excuse me? You're the reason why this storm, you're the reason why we going through this?" He said, "Yeah, because God is after me."
Check the people on your boat.
Check what? You better check who you got on your boat.
The people on your boat.
Check them. And watch this. This is so powerful. So he says, "Well, I'll tell you what, this is what you do. If you throw me overboard, the storm will stop. Toss me off, and the storm will stop." So they do exactly what he told them to do. They tossed him off, storm ceased. But what do you do when God come after you? Because you know that you're in direct disobedience to God. And God is coming not after the people that are surrounding you, but he just may be coming after you. But because of the people that's surrounding you, they just happen to be victims of a divine purpose that God has on your life.
And you know what's so funny? As this story resonates to me, because when you run from God and you know that you've been called, that's why I can never be angry. I felt like he had to remove my safety nets, because he was never going to get me fully until he did. So there went my grandfather, then my husband, then my mom, and it forced me to turn solely to him. And in order for him to get me, he had to use those people that were directly connected to me in order to get me. Because I was running, and I would have run forever, because the bottom line is, well, I'm not going to say forever, but we gravitate to what's comfortable. Change scares us. And we would rather stay in the place that's comfortable than to be uncomfortable, because in being uncomfortable, that there's fear in knowing. I used to say to people, and somebody was like, "That's the dumbest thing I ever heard." And I'm like, no, it's not necessarily fear of doing what he's called me to do. It's knowing where that's going to take you. And that's the unknown.
Now right there, stay right there, because what you call it? I don't know if you call it an oxymoron or catch-22. There's a fear of knowing, but then there's a fear of knowing the unknown. Because you know what God called you to do. He told Abraham, he said, listen, leave your family. I want you to go to a place you don't even know nothing about. You know, for some of us, we be like, well, what am I supposed to do? I don't know where I'm going.
Who? They not gonna be there by myself?
Yeah, exactly. So the unknown, so there's fear even in that, not knowing, but that's where your faith has to kick in. Your faith has to allow you to take you to places of an unknown, but knowing that when you get there, there's a blessing there waiting.
Absolutely.
See, we don't know where we're going, but if God says it, he's not going to take us to a place where we're going to fall off a cliff. That's not God. I don't choose to serve that kind of God. He always has a plan. He always has a purpose. He always has a destiny that leads to fruitfulness.
Absolutely.
He was taking Moses, we don't talk about Moses too much anymore, but Moses, one of the most powerful men of God. Watch this story right here. God help me. Watch this story right here. God tells Moses to take the children of Israel over into the promised land. To make a long story short, he takes Moses right to the edge where he can see the promised land. Imagine the excitement of Moses seeing something that was long awaited. His eyes lit up like fire. There it is. I'm looking at the promised land. Lo and behold, God tells him, you like that, Moses? That look good, don't it? You're not going. What's the reason why Moses didn't go over there? Because there was a couple of them. One of them was he was angry with Moses because he told Moses, he said, listen, this is what I want you to do because, watch this, because of people. You got to watch people. He told Moses, he said, listen, God complaining, the people crying for this and they crying for that and they want more water. They want more this and they want that. He said, Moses, this is what you do. Go to the rock. He said, speak to the rock and the water come gushing out. So what does he do? He goes and he does what he normally would do. He smoked the rock. Now, God told him to do that once before and he did it and the water came out of the rock. But this time it was different because he hit it out of anger because of the people. When God told him to speak, he hit it out of anger. That rock represents Jesus. He hit Jesus. God was angry with him right there at that moment because that was a deliberate disobedience.
Absolutely. That
was strike one. The second reason is because of the fact Moses was so powerful. So powerful. God said, listen, I can't allow you to go over there, even though I'm angry with you. But the other reason why you can't go is because of the fact that the people will reverence you and not me when I'm the one that took you over. They'll lift you up as God than me. Therefore, I'm going to bury you myself. That's what God told him. God said, I'm giving you a private burial. You ain't going over there. They'll dig your bones up. And they'll worship you. And I'm the one that brought you over. He said, I'm going to give you a private burial that even the enemy can't even find because the enemy even inquired to Michael about where's Moses' bones. Why? Because he was just that powerful. Moses' bone was just that powerful because he was such a powerful man of God. Moses did great exploits for God that they would literally see him as God. For him to come down off the mountain and his face lit up like the sun. I'm talking about the S-O-N, not the S-U-N. His face lit up. They had to tell him, Moses, cover your face because you look like God. How about Shaka? You look like God. We can't even look upon your face. We're not even worthy to even look at the glory. Veil your face because we can't take to look at you because you look too much like God. That's why God told him to take his shoes off. Even though I ain't want your dirty feet on my floor. That's what God was saying. But take your shoes off. He said, because the closer you get to me, I want you to feel this. Because if you get too close, it might consume you. So I need you to feel just how close you're getting. Because he saw something that represented God. He saw a bush that was burning, but it wasn't burning. But it was on fire. I'm like, oh, hallelujah, Jesus. So
I mean, how is this applying to your life? I'm gonna bring this back around because you're watching. And Ty sitting over there behind the booth, and she giving me the look because it's punching her in the gut. How is this applying to your life? Ask yourself that question, and then ask yourself what you're going to do about it today.
Mm-hmm.
Today, because tomorrow is not promised.
That's right.
But far too many of us are being disobedient, deliberately disobedient. Deeper than the procrastination. Deliberately disobedient in knowing what it is that we've been called to do, in knowing what it is that he said to us. And instead of just trusting him, we're being deliberately disobedient. So do we really want to be like Moses? Do we want to be like Moses in the sense of where we get that close to what it is that he has for us?
We got to watch people. He allowed people to lock him out of the promises of God. You got to be careful who is in your circle. You cannot let people get in the way between you and your destiny. If you let them, they will. See, Moses let them because he constantly complained to God about them. So much so, they told, as a matter of fact, Moses, the last time he came down off the mountain, he met with the people. He said, listen, y'all, I got something for y'all. I got a surprise for y'all. God want to see y'all. When he said that, they heard God walking. Boom, boom, lightning and thunder. They looked up and they said, ho, 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 ho. Moses, go back up. Tell God don't come down here. We're scared of him. So wait a minute. This is the God that's going to take you where y'all want to go, where you need to go. How you going to be scared of him? Because they saw the glory. See, they knew they wasn't ready and they knew they wasn't right. So they knew they would have probably fell dead if they had seen God because he was coming. He was coming in the full. He wasn't hiding nothing. He was coming in the fullness of his glory. They saw it. They saw him coming. They heard him coming. They said, Moses, no. Go back up. Tell him to go back. God said, okay, tell you what, Moses, you go back down there and you tell them I'm setting a perimeter around the mountain. If they cross this line right here, I'm going to kill them dead. I'm going to kill every single one of them. What's that to say about God? Oh, God's a tyrant. Oh, God is mean. No. God is righteous. Yes. He's faithful and just in everything that he does and all his decisions. See what I'm saying? But the people didn't want it. So he said, tell you what, if they cross that line, I'm going to kill them. He said, this here is my dominion. If they cross my dominion, I'm going to kill them because if they don't want me, they don't want no part of me, then tell them to stay away from what's mine.
That's right. That's right.
Huh? So we got to be careful. If we don't want God, we don't want the real God. See, we want a God, but we don't want the real God. So much so
we want the watered down version. You know, the God that's okay with whatever we choose to do. See, it's okay. We want the watered down version. We want the hype man God.
That's the one.
We want the cosigner God.
Exactly.
We want the yes man God.
Exactly.
Not the one that holds us accountable. Yeah.
And we talked about that before. Accountability. Yeah. You know, there's an accountability to God. They made a golden calf. They could worship that golden calf because that golden calf wasn't going to tell them to live right. See, they wanted a God that they could control. Yeah. See, they didn't want a God that was going to tell them yay or nay. They don't want that God. You know, they didn't want a God that was not going to allow them to live comfortably in sin. Yeah. And that's a daily battle right there in itself.
And he will make it, and especially when you truly are walking with him, he makes it so uncomfortable to continue to live like you used to. Mm-hmm. You know, you almost feel guilty. It's as if in the presence of disappointing your parents in the flesh. Yeah. It's just like that where you like, I don't want to. I remember feeling I would equate how my mother would look when I disappointed her in disappointing God. Yeah. To the point where there were things that I knew that I was out of alignment. And I would literally cry because I could see not his face, but her face. Yeah. And the disappointment on her face made me check myself, which is why I can't go too far to the left. I'm not perfect. Yeah. You know, I'm still a work in progress. And I hate that we use that as an excuse, you know, sometimes we use that as a crutch, you know, oh, we're still a work in progress. Okay, but that also means doing the work. That means striving daily to be a better version of self. So we can't just keep using daily, you know, I'm a work in progress, you know, I punched you in your eye, but I'm still a work in progress. At some point, something in us should start to evolve. Something in us should start to shift, should start to change. So that the things that we used to do, we don't do anymore. We all fall short. But I think that in being a work in progress, and really when you, like you said, when you give the yes, when you answer the call, things don't happen overnight. The change doesn't happen overnight. But I think that the deeper we get in him and we submerge ourselves in him, it no longer allows us to operate in the same manner that we used to. You get real uncomfortable. And again, clearly, I don't like to be uncomfortable.
And uncomfortability is actually it plays a big part in ministry, because God says, I have to make you uncomfortable, otherwise you won't move.
True.
In order for me to push you into your destiny, I got to make things uncomfortable where you are. And there's a certain level of uncomfortability that will come, that will cause you automatically, without even thinking, I got to get out of this. You know what I mean? Because as long as it's comfortable for you, you'll stay right there. As long as I can get away with something, I'm gonna keep doing it. It ain't until I'm called out. Or can't do that no more.
I didn't even see. You know, sometimes I get on the show and I say, "She don't say this."
No.
And then other times I say, I operate in transparency.
Because it's good for us too. We preaching on us too. Because I've been there. I mean, I haven't done a lot in my life, you know, and I thank God for it. I really haven't. I have not done. I can't say I've been a bad boy. I haven't. I've done my share of dirt, but I haven't done so much stuff that I look at my life and just be down on myself and blah blah blah. You know, I mean, I'm sorry for the things that I've done. You know, but for the most part, you know, I've as a child, I've been sheltered. My mother sheltered me. She kept certain girls away from me. Stuff like that. You know, no, don't talk to my son. And they would tell me, Melvin, I wasn't allowed to talk to you because your mother said. Your mother said. In other words, she told them. She said I was a bad influence for you. Literally, they came in and there's some girls I was like, you know, hey, get with you know. But because what Mama said, Mama wasn't playing.
Thank you, Mama.
Thank you. Yes,
Thank
exactly.
you, Mama.
Thank you, Mama.
When you touched on the uncomfortability, and you know, when I say this, I'm going to try to be as sensitive as I can about this matter. But most people know a year ago my mom passed, and in that time, in the midst of the grief, he made things real uncomfortable for me. My living situation became something that I thought was going to break me. I haven't talked about this. And it got to a place where I couldn't believe that I was really living this. Like, I couldn't believe that this was my life, that people that were supposed to love me, that were supposed to protect me, that were supposed to stand in the gaps, were putting me through utter hell. 10 months of hell. And I sat unreactive. Which is what I normally would have done, was react. And I sat and I cried and I prayed and I cried some more. And it became very clear that it was time for me to move on. And, you know, that was a place that I had lived my entire life. And I really didn't want to uproot my son, because you're looking at all that he had lost over the course of the last years. And I'm like, geez, like in the midst of all of this grieving, now he has to leave everything that he knows behind. And it became very clear to me that it really wasn't the concern of others, you know, really how we were doing emotionally. Really, it came down to the other stuff. and this is not me pointing the finger, this is the truth. Yeah. This is transparency. This is what this is about. Praying that what I'm sharing will somehow help somebody else to deal. And I remember looking at homes and I'm like, oh man, like, you know, and I remember praying location, because for me, I'm not mobile, and I wanted to ensure that my son would still be able to go to school. And I remember walking into this one particular house and I saw the tag on it. I knew what it looked like. I knew what my bank account looked like, and I knew what my credit looked like. I was like, there's no way. But the other side of me said, pray on it. And I remember walking in this house, and immediately I was like, this is my house. Like, this is my house. And once I felt that in my spirit, I knew that I had to leave it and let God move, because I'm like, I know that on paper, I don't look like I belong here. I don't look like I belong here. But in trusting him, I got the phone call. And before they gave us a yes, they were like, you know, we want to meet with you and your son. And I think he probably cinched the deal, because immediately, more so than vibing with me, just in the amazing individual that he is, they connected to his spirit.
Wow.
And I mean, they were having these conversations, and here it is. If I had not gone through the toxic, if I had not gone through that 10 months of being beat up, per se, and sitting and trusting God in the midst of that, I was uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable. My anxiety, which is not my anxiety was at an all-time high. Every time my phone rang, every time a text message came through, I'm like, oh Lord, what now? What more? Like, what more do you want from me? And I can honestly say, when I trusted him to sort through the mess,
my God,
I'm in a place today. That's when doors started. When I said, you know what? I'm going to leave all of this behind. And when I tell you, I left my house, I had no bed. The first 2 days I was sleeping in my son's bed with him, or in the floor. Like, this is the truth. I didn't care. There was peace. There was peace for the first time in 10 months. There was a peace that I had not had.
My God.
I wasn't even able to grieve in the manner that I should have been able to grieve, because I was so worried about what's going to happen, not necessarily to me, but to my kid. And for the first time in months, there was peace. I had carpet on the floor. I told my friends, I'm like, we ain't got no furniture yet. Y'all come over.
Bring your pillow.
Bring your pillow.
Got plenty of carpet.
And you know, it was awesome, because you know, my mother-in-law, you know, my son's grandmother had contacted me, and she's like, do you have a kitchen table? Do you have a sofa? And I'm like, I ain't worried about none of that stuff. I was like, no, I got peace. And I know people thought that I was crazy, but when you live in that type of uncomfortability, when you live in that type of environment where it feels like life is being sucked out of you, when you're able to breathe again, when you have that peace, and I mean, I walked in that house and it was like, wow, it was the presence of God. It was the reminder that he was in control the whole time. There were some things that I had to go through because he needed to expose some things to me. And that's why I have no regrets. I have no regrets on the decisions that I made, because I wasn't operating under a janky spirit. The things that were happening to me, I could have blasted. People go to social media nowadays. I could have went on these rampages and rants and expose. No. I had to trust my father.
That's right.
Because I knew that he was taking me through this process for a reason.
That's right.
And then doors started to open.
That's good.
Doors started to open, because now there's peace. So now there's clarity. So now I can not only dig deeper into him, but my focus is different. And here I am.
God can bless you now, because he says, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. So if your mind is cloudy, you can't see God in it. You'll always see what's in front of you. You know what I mean? God had to take you and bring you into a place of brokenness. He had to break you. Because in mind, he was going to break you to rebuild you.
Absolutely.
Jesus said, destroy this temple. I'm going to raise it back up in 3 days. They thought he was talking about the temple. He said, no, y'all missing the point. He said, I'm talking about this temple.
Yes. He
said, this fleshly body's going to go back down to the dust. He said, and my spirit, the true me, is going to come forth. You see what I'm saying? So God said, I got to take Shika, I got to bring her down so the true her can come forth. See, things that you would have done, you didn't do it no more because it would have messed up and it would have tainted your blessing. So God said, I can't have that. So I got to make her, I got to transform her, I got to reshape her, I got to reform her. You see what I'm saying? Everybody said it, like you said, a work in progress. Well, when is the work going to be finished?
When are you going to actually do the work? You know, we talk about the work in progress, but he said, meet me halfway. Okay, I'm waiting for you.
Yeah. When are you going to be done?
When you going to be done? When you going to meet me here? Because I've been waiting.
Where's the finished product?
The Lord is tired. He's like, look, I've been waiting for the last 3 years. You've been telling me yes, and you ain't moved yet. You know, and don't get to the place where he has to remove, because he will absolutely remove some things from you.
He'll jack your life. Put it plainly, he'll jack your life
flip
up.
Them tables.
Yeah, literally.
Flip them tables.
He'll stop some stuff. He'll stop your finance, and we rebuking the devil. The devil isn't the devil. No. It might be God.
Yeah. Trying to get your attention. He can't get you. You know, if you've never been down that road, you know, you don't really appreciate.
Keep living.
Yeah. It's coming. You know, unfortunately for me, you know, I'm a little hard-headed. So, you know, he be like, Sheik, I've been trying to talk to you. You're not listening.
Yep.
Okay, well, let me knock this out the way.
Okay.
Still nothing?
Yeah.
You're still sitting?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me knock that out the way, you know. But, you know.
But that's where your faith kicks in.
Yeah.
Because God told Abraham, take your son. Son, I promised you. Take him, kill him. What do you do when God says sacrifice what he gave you? Abraham didn't say a word. He did everything God told him to do. He didn't backlash. He didn't say a word. He grabbed everything that God told him to get. I got the fire. I got the wood. I got the axe. I got everything I need to do what God said do. And he was going to do it regardless of what God said, because he believed, God, if you gave him to me, if I kill him, you can bring him back if you want. So he went with that promise, knowing that somehow or some way God would bring him back. That's what he went on. That's solely what he went on. And he was going to do it. He raised his hand to do it. God had to call him twice. Abraham, I know you got me.
And you know, that level of discipline, that level, you know, it makes some people think you're crazy, which is okay. Which is okay. You know, when you're so committed, I know sometimes I get flack for the amount of work on my shoulders. And it's like, well, you're not taking care of yourself. And it's deeper than that. It's like when God moves, and you know what he's called you to do, and you truly are in a place where you like, Lord, I just want to serve you. I just want to be obedient. I want what you have for me.
Yeah, I want what you want.
That means that you have to sacrifice some things.
Yeah.
And that means that you have to be obedient. You know, I feel guilty. The show's on Tuesday. That means that I don't always get to make life applications class. You know, do I feel guilty? Yeah, sometimes I do. But the reality is, I'm still doing kingdom work. It's not, you know, it's not like I'm sitting at home. You know, it's a long day for me. Yeah, you know, kicking up, eating popcorn, enjoying life. You know, that's not my reality.
Lifetime movies will bless your life now.
The Hallmark Channel. I'm sorry, I'm a Hallmark Channel. The Hallmark Channel. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Jesus.
We
So went off.
You see how we went on. But you know, people don't understand that those are not sacrifices that you always want to make, and it's not about making excuses. You know, some people truly, you know, church is awesome. I enjoy being in church. I enjoy fellowship. I enjoy, you know, the members in my, you know, I enjoy when we get together. Nobody ever wants to go home. That's pretty much us. You know, there's always people lingering around. You're like, why y'all still here? But I'm also on assignment, and I take what it is that God is doing in this season very seriously, whether it be through this show, whether I still have a nonprofit organization that I'm solely responsible for. I still have, you know, the inspirational brand where I'm trying to get my mind to a place where I can sit down and create, you know, new tees. Where's the new tees coming? And those Kingdom Kids shirts are coming soon. But you know, when you know that you've been called and you're just trying to be obedient, to some people it makes you look disobedient. And I think in that you have to dig even deeper into to God and realize that it's really not about them, because they're probably going to talk about you anyway.
Oh yeah,
they're going to talk about you anyway, whether I'm there, whether I'm not there. You know, the good or the bad. I could give you my whole attention, all of my attention, and you're still gonna find something wrong with how I gave you my attention.
You know, I've learned that there's people, they feel that they're not living unless they're creating drama. For them, that's life. And I'm not living unless I create some kind of havoc for somebody. And to them, that's what they thrive on. And see, and that goes back to us. Well, God, get them, kill them.
Yeah.
God says, no, leave them alone, because they already suffering. You ain't got to do nothing. You just stand still. You just, as a matter of fact, you keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what I told you to do. They already suffering.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? And then some folk, you just pay them no mind. God will deal with them. God will literally deal with them. Folk will lose houses. Folk will lose. There's all kind of stuff that are happening in life. There's folk that I know right now, they ain't even going to church no more. And they were super holy rollers back in the day, but now they have nowhere. They don't go nowhere near church.
But see, that's when you have to be careful about what you put out there. You know, I say all the time, and I have been guilty. I'm not, again, I'm the work in progress that's really doing the work. Like, I promise you, I'm doing the work.
It's a lot of work.
And if you knew me for real, you know that, whoo, Jesus, I am not who I used to be.
Thank you for saving her.
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you for working with her.
Yes. But, you know, it takes strength in that other type of faith to not react when you know that people are truly praying on your downfall, to really still be obedient, for you to keep focused on the task at hand and not choose to, okay, well, since they're saying these things about me, or since they're treating me this way, or you know that they secretly want you to fail. Instead of focusing on those things and praying that something negative will happen to them, you just got to continue to shine. You got to stay focused, because the bottom line is, it's not about what they do as much as how you react to what they do.
That's right.
People always see that, and that's what we're accountable for, how we react.
Yeah.
That doesn't discredit whether or not they were wrong, but how we react to what happens, that's a reflection on us.
That's right.
And I no longer, and I said this, I'm like, I'm no longer going to be a victim at somebody else's expense. You know, nobody else is going to be able to be a victim at my expense, rather, where, you know, oh, well, she did that. And you're sitting like, but I didn't even, that's not even what happened. It didn't, you know, but it's too easy for, especially when people see God moving and seeing you evolve and you not being that person that you used to be, when they know that, oh, she used to be a hothead. Oh, well, I can push that button and it'll, so they're always going to attempt to use those things to destroy you. But when you truly step into the realm,
that's right,
and you really are connected and are in doing the work, you can no longer be a victim at my expense, because I'm not even in the arena playing with you anymore.
That's right.
I'm going to ignore you like I don't see you. I'm going to still pray for you. I'm going to love you from afar. But I am absolutely not about to let you block my blessings.
That's right.
So, you know, it's important. I'm hoping that something, y'all got me. This is the first show that y'all made me cry. I'm upset about that. This is supposed to be your cry. You were supposed to be the one crying over there. And instead,
she probably was. I think.
Instead, I seen your contacts get a little foggy over there. But instead, it was me. But that's the beauty of this show, transparency. Mm-hmm. One thing, if anybody knows me, I've always walked in transparency. I don't believe in looking back and being ashamed of decisions that I've made. Mm-hmm. I use it as a tool to grow, you know, and things that I've been through, I have been through. Yeah. And yet I'm still standing, and yet the broken crayon is still being used.
Yeah, that's it. Broken crayon still used.
You know,
as long as the ends are there,
okay, you
can always use the crayon, whether it's broken or not.
The pencil too.
And the thing about it is that what do you do? This is to encourage somebody. What do you do when you are in a season of brokenness? Mm-hmm. Still move forward, because what happens is you become a victim of divine purpose. God allows you to be broken so that you can help somebody else, because you've been through it. Mm-hmm. Therefore, you can tell somebody else, well, what did you do to get out? Mm-hmm. See, if you never been broken, if you never been there, you can't help me. No. You can't help me if you ain't been where I've been. Don't even talk to me. You just go somewhere and sit down, you know, have several seats, come back to me when you go.
It's like when you lose a parent or a loved one, and somebody wants to tell you how you should grieve.
Can't tell me that. You ain't been there.
It's just like, you don't even get it. Like you don't even, like, I remember last year I said, posted something about, I'm not celebrating Mother's Day. It was, you know, my first without my mom. Yeah. And I was like, I don't even want to deal with the Mother's Day thing. Yeah. And I had people commented and in my inbox saying, oh, that's not fair to your son. Your son still deserves. You think my son cares about Mother's Day right now? Yeah. I'm always his mother every day. Mm-hmm. But what he lost was so great that, you know, you don't get it unless you've experienced it. And even if you've experienced it, you still may not get it, because anyone that knew my mom and I knew our relationship, and we were inseparable. So that type of loss is bigger than, you know, we lived in the same house my whole life. We were inseparable. I got married, we moved, we stayed right there, helped to take care of grandpa and lived our lives, you know. People don't understand that loss when you have that person that you spoke to every single day, that you did everything with, concerts, dinner, whatever. My mother was my ride or die, you know, so it's easy for you not to have gone through it and for you to tell somebody else how they should deal with it. Yeah. Or even to have gone through it and to still tell somebody how they should deal with it. Everybody deals with grief differently. Yeah, because when you have that person, like my dad, I called him Superman. There was nothing he couldn't do. Nothing. I mean, this man could do anything. He put his mind to do something. He did it. He did in one day or a couple of days what it take 5 men to do in a month, 2 months. He did it in 1 or 2 days. And to have a person like that in your life leave, it's a big gap because of the fact that a lot of people who don't know their fathers left. Fathers died early in their life, so they don't know, they had not had that connection. But when you have had that person in your life, all of your life, and they're no longer there, you can't get on the phone and hear that voice. That voice you so used to use. I go to the house and, you know, I'm used to saying to my dad, I call him, Rabbi, hey, Rabbi, how you doing? Yeah. You know, I'm so used to him yelling downstairs, you know, because he'd be upstairs in his chair. You know, hey, Rabbi, you upstairs, Rabbi? Yeah, Rabbi, I'm up here, come on. You know, we talk like that. We play with each other and stuff like that, you know. But to go in and not hear that anymore, it's a big loss. It's a big gap there. But that gap can be filled with the presence of God. God lets you know, because we know if they're in Christ, we know where they are. Yeah. So we have to see it as, okay, God, they're with you. I'm good. Listen, but I'm good. And there's a piece, I think we spoke about this last week when I had Jermaine here. We were talking, he was like, you know, there were times when I was crying and I was afraid of seeing you because I didn't know how you were going to react. And then I would see you and Nas are laughing and joking and I'm confused because there's a difference between grief and guilt. when you know that you lived a life where you gave all that you could to this person, when you truly did right by them in life, there's no guilt.
And you can tell guilt because folk are all up in the casket, crying, getting ready to get in
guilt
there.
To have you trying to
That's
jump in
guilt.
there.
That's guilt. You guilty. There's something you did or you should have done that you didn't do. So you guilty because you in that crying call. I mean, you in that tan stuff, acting a
complete fool.
Yeah, you guilty.
And that's why you need to get in alignment now.
Yes.
Because death is one thing that is promised to us.
Yes, it is.
You know, and if there is a family member, if there's a it doesn't have to be, if there's a loved one, if there's a friend, check in on that friend today. Take a minute to check in on that person.
Yes.
If they don't answer, send them a text message.
Yes.
Send them an email, something, just
Facebook.
to let them get on Facebook.
Do that anyway.
While you sitting there sharing foolishness. Oh, and make sure you vote today. Vote. But while we're sharing foolishness today, I need us to be in alignment and check on somebody today. Send them a kind word. Tell them you love them. Don't let time be that thing that gets you caught up because it is not promised us. Tomorrow is not promised. Actually, the next hour is not promised. You know, let's just be grateful for the moments that we have left. So I challenge you, each and every one of you that are watching today, to reach out to somebody today. Tell them you love them. And it better not be me. So my phone better not start vibrating. It's on my bed. You see, I just moved my phone. I don't mean right in this very moment to text me while I'm on the show. Because my cell phone is going to start vibrating. And I don't want to read messages on the show. But I don't know. How much time we have? We are live. And I say this all the time because I need you to. Oh, okay. Because I want to make sure that I thank our amazing sponsor.
Yes.
Our amazing sponsor, Allstate Insurance Company, agency owner Jermaine Matthews. Please contact Mr. Matthews and his team for all of your insurance needs at 516-941-1641. And that is 516-941. Hey, Jermaine. 1641. And he's located at 2180 Jericho Turnpike, Garden City Park, New York, 11040. So I hope somebody was blessed today.
I hope so.
Because I'm tired. Wow, this has been the most transparent.
Yes.
You know, some things you carry with you, and as I was battling, that's why I said, oh God. But I battled with myself on what to reveal. And when God said it was time, I needed to. I really can't focus on whether it offended. I pray to God that it didn't. I pray to God that it came from a good place. But it was important for me. It was in my spirit to be transparent in that moment. And
that was a good moment.
Yeah, because I would cry. Yeah, I seen your eyes. I seen your eyes going up like.
I was like,
Sheik, you better suck that back up. You better.
Hold it together. Don't lose it right now.
Somebody got to be strong.
Right now. Bishop gonna have to come get me.
Somebody call Bishop. Tell him to come. Hold it down, Bishop. Get us off the floor. We got the rolling chairs up here today too. Lord, it'd have been man down. He was like, bro, you help me up.
But listen, people of God, I know it's very hard to trust God when you're in those places of brokenness, when you're in those places of darkness. But I heard a saying that only stars shine in darkness.
Yes.
People will see your light. Darkness cannot even comprehend the light. Even with just a flicker of light, it illuminates a whole room that is full of darkness.
Yes.
So be that light.
Be the light.
Be the star that shines even in the midst of darkness, because you never know who you're going to inspire.
Absolutely.
You never know who you're going to bring out of that darkness and into light. You know, that's why God allows you to be in darkness, so that you can pull people from darkness into light. If you are light.
I say that all the time. It is important for you to be light.
Be light.
Don't play in the darkness. That's why it goes back to protecting your anointing and protecting your spirit. Because I can't connect to everybody's spirit.
Because everything looks the same in darkness. If we turned out all the lights in this room, everything would look the same. I couldn't even see you. I'd be knocking over stuff. You know what I mean? Because everything looks the same in darkness. Darkness is what it is. It's darkness. You won't know where you are. You don't know what things are until you turn on the light. Now I can see the TV screen. Now I can see the cameras. Now I can see the table. I can see this. But in darkness, I can't see anything.
That's right.
Because everything looks the same. So just continue. You really have to trust God. This is a trust factor. This is a faith factor. It has always been about faith.
Yes.
And that's what God is trying to do. He's trying to build your faith. Faith is the most intricate part of your life. Faith is the currency of God. In order for you to get anything from God, you have to get it by faith. When you reach into the heavenlies, it's faith that is the currency that gets you the blessing from heaven.
Oh,
you can't go up there with natural money and buy things. No, but by faith. By faith, God will cause it to come and appear right before you. See, by faith. Children get the keys to daddy's house. Not strangers, children.
That's
God
right.
says you can get the key, come up here and get whatever you want. See, I can unlock heaven and get whatever I need from God. You know what I'm saying? Now, it may not come right away, but at some point in time, God's going to say, okay.
But that's the trust factor. That's
Trust.
the faith again.
Faith.
That's the faith again.
That's the lifestyle. That's the life spread. That's the life's bread of a Christian is their faith. If you don't have faith, you don't have anything. So you got to build upon your faith from glory to glory, strength to strength, faith to faith, word to word, precept upon precept. Get the word of God. That's the main thing. You got to know the word. How are you going to know what promises God is giving you unless you go to the word to know what they are?
Because you can't trust man to get it for you.
God says in James, don't put your trust in man. And that's the problem. We trusted too much in man. God said, you trusted man. Man didn't do any of this. I did this.
And this is why we're going to have to come back and touch on the church. The church hurt. I was going to touch. I said, this is why we so...
You see the after effect, right? You see the after effect? 5 minutes later.
Did you fall out of the chair? Oh! He signed a waiver, y'all.
I sure did. Put that waiver back.
I ain't responsible. But because I wanna end this show on this note, because what you left with the light. We're gonna leave this show with "I Made It" by Fantasia and Ty Tribbett. Oh. That song came to me late last night. I usually go deep into him Monday night throughout so that I can be in alignment, trying to get up here and operate under the right spirit and making sure that all the other stuff goes away. But I want to leave y'all with "I Made It," because I just want you to listen to the words, because if you are in darkness, just know that if you trust him just a little bit long, don't trust him just a little longer. I want you to trust him, period. But if you hold on a little longer, greater is coming. It's right around the corner. I promise you. Trust him. And we all gonna sing this song. So I want to leave this show with "I Made It" by Fantasia and Ty Tribbett. And thank you for watching again. Thank you, bro, for being here and all of the knowledge, and for, my God, for crying with me a little bit. For crying with me a little bit.
She almost got me, y'all.
His eyes watered up. I said, wait, hold on, G-check. I had to remember I'm from Wyandanch. I can't just be walking around crying like that. Again, if you have not voted today, please go out and vote. It is important. Make sure you're voting for the budget. Be the voice for your kids. Go out there and vote. I love this song. Listen.
I done made it through the storm and the rain. So much pressure, heartache, so much pain. Yeah. I've been broken into pieces, maybe more. Hey. And some nights I made my bed right on the floor. The enemy really tried to take me out.